You are listening to the Tattoos, Cats, and Resistance podcast. All right, guys, and we do have Paul here. So, Paul, I just wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell us anything about kind of who you are as a person, why you're doing this, etc.
My name is Paul Lance. I live in the great state of California. I'm a radical left liberal paid for by George Soros. I started this because when I grew up in a Christian nationalist home. My dad was not a very nice guy, but then every Sunday he found a way to pretend to be a Christian for 1 hour a week in church and dress up and praise Jesus. You know, the typical kind of like MAGA Christian evangelicals. And I think because of that, when I was a kid, I didn't feel like anybody was there to kind of stand up for me and fight for me. And so a couple of years ago, I actually decided to create a TikTok channel, and I just thought I was going to do it for fun, and it's kind of like rolled into something a little more. So I just feel like I'm standing up for the people. Not everybody's like me because of how I grew up. I think I run at the bear instead of away from it. It's just how I'm wired, because I know that people that are bullies, they crave on fear of people. They want people to feel like they do, and that bothers me. So because of that, I started this. So now I have a YouTube. I just started YouTube, so that's kind of new to me. Last week, I actually hosted. There's a show called Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I hosted it last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Wow, that's awesome.
Check that
And
out.
then Tuesday, yeah, it's really cool. On Tuesday, we co-hosted it with an author called April Joy. She wrote a book called Star Spangled Jesus that talks about white Christian
Wow.
nationalism, because it's really cool, because that's really a lot of where we are as a country right now, is that. So that's kind of how I became here. So I got a little bit of YouTube and that's why I'm here today. It's rolled into whatever it is right now.
Yeah, and then we can find you on socials. Is it Paul for Equality on all of your socials? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm mainly
Awesome.
just on YouTube and TikTok. I'm not a big meta guy. I just find it's a little toxic, honestly. It's kind of like Twitter, but like with a lot of ads.
Yeah, I was on there today, and on Facebook, that is, and there was this video, clearly AI, and they were posing it as if it was a real shark, and the movements of the shark were like so obvious, and it looked like a costume, and they were like, this 40-foot shark attacked this boat. Here's real footage. And I'm like, oh my God, like what is happening on this app? So I immediately closed out. That was the end of that. So, I mean, it would be cool if that were real, but it was clearly not. So anyway, but the shark was like out of the water. I'll go on a tangent. Don't get me started. But anyway, so I don't want to get us all totally off base here. So Paul I asked Paul to talk with us about the general strike because I was on a TikTok that Paul was on a live, and I had been kind of anti-general strike. Jenny knows this because I was kind of like, we can't do that, blah blah, and because I was like, I'll lose my job,
Right.
and yeah. But something happened that day whenever I was listening to Paul talk about it. Maybe I was just ready to receive it, and I was like, okay, you changed my mind. I'm in. So I was hoping that you could kind of, maybe if there's other people that don't know about it or are like me, like I was, so go for it. So let us know about what it's all about.
A general strike at this point, I believe it's our last hope to save democracy in the country. We live in a social contract in the United States of America. Okay, we pay our taxes, we follow the laws, we follow the speed limit, we listen to the cops, we put our kids in school, we do our vaccines in school, yada, yada, yada. We do the normal, okay, I'm a good citizen of this country, we work, blah, blah, blah. The government has broken their half of the social contract with the people, not just their orange Jesus. They have not done what they're supposed to do with the taxes that we give them. They're not upholding their part of the contract. They're not using it to make our lives better. They're spending their time renaming the Gulf of Mexico, talking about demonizing trans kids, putting the Ten Commandments in Texas, putting the Bible in Tennessee. It's a bunch of crap. It just is. They're weaponizing the Department of Education, breaking it down so people with autism. We have 36.8 million people in this country that live in poverty, not being addressed. 14 million kids that they don't have enough food, not being addressed. We have over 40,000 people that die every year from gun violence, not being addressed. Like 800,000 people that are homeless, not being addressed. We have 3 people that have as much wealth in this country. And I'll give you one example, because it's really 2 issues. This is the economic part. Walmart is the largest employer in the entire country. I think they have about 1.2 million people. The median employee makes about $30,500. The CEO makes 495 times the median. That's disgusting. It's gross.
Wow.
And somehow they get bonuses. Great job for telling poor people how to make more money for you and how to stock the shelves. Yeah, that makes real good sense. What policies is the government right now using to make their lives better? Let's say we tax the rich, because we've all heard that, right? Tax the rich, tax the rich.
Yep.
Great. Let's say you tax Walmart. Where does that money go? To the government. Does that give the people at Walmart more money? No.
No.
And that's fundamentally what nobody's talking about. Not even Bernie's talking about this. You have to get the money in the pockets of the people, because otherwise you are making them systemically reliant on this system.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we're going to be the Hunger's Games. Pay your taxes, get a living wage, pay the rich people, or, get a little bit of wage. The government, okay, don't worry, we'll give you Social Security. We're going to give you just enough money where you don't die. Just enough money where you don't starve to death. Just enough money where you're not homeless. But I want you to put up your American flag and say how great it is. That's where we are. You have to incentivize those people to pay people living wage. A general strike, it's twofold. You need 3.5% of the population to buy into it. There's a couple things that we have to do. We have to do basic gun reform. You can't have safe gun storage, background checks. In Texas, you can go down there at a private show and just buy a gun and be a convicted felon. That's not well regulated. That's insane. That is not well regulated, and that is not pro-life. Do a safety course. Store it. If you leave it on your bed, you leave it in your closet, and a kid uses it, your kid uses it in a school shooting, you should be charged with a felony. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yep.
And I'll criticize the Democrats because they've done a piss poor job about pushing back on that. A very, very bad job. Well regulated. They don't push back. Jon Stewart said it best. Inconvenience is not infringement. With over 40,000 people that die every year for gun violence, that's the bare minimum that we can do. But we have time to rename the Gulf of Mexico. Now, Congress. Let's look at Congress. We have to put term limits on these people. Nancy Pelosi is like 82.
Yeah.
She's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of there.
Right.
Go to Margaritaville. Buy an
That's
island.
right.
She's worth like $120 million. Leave us alone. You have to take money out of politics. You have to reverse Citizens United.
Yes.
You have to reinstate the fairness doctrine so we stop having 24-hour news cycles that's propaganda, because that's how Benito Mussolini came to power, is through propaganda. And don't kid yourselves, since February, how many times do you think that Fox News has ran a piece about trans people? Take a guess.
Ooh, that's a great question. I bet you they're talking about that a lot more than is necessary.
Yeah.
Probably
244.
244?
Or
There's
Jesus.
there's not even that many trans people in my town. That's
There's
that's
12,
insane.
12 trans people out of 500,000 athletes in college, out of 1,000 schools.
Yeah, it's the smallest population of it. It is so insignificant. It shouldn't even be spoken.
It invokes fear-mongering into their uneducated white base. It allows
That's a very
them to
good
be the victim of something. They need to be the perpetual victim all the time. If we don't fundamentally change these things as a society, it doesn't matter if a Democrat or a Republican is in office. It doesn't matter. We have to stop kidding ourselves. Both of these parties, and I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I was a Republican until 16, until it became a cult of a man. And I was
Were
a
you really?
Democrat. I was.
I didn't know that. I didn't.
Because I grew up in a Baptist church, because you have to be a Republican because Jesus hates the Democrats, right? They're all going to hell. They're from the devil, right? Because that's what they tell you in the church.
Gotcha.
And I was a Democrat because I am very progressive. I care about people. I never thought caring for people would be left or right. I thought that was just being a decent human being. But they can't find a backbone in a box of backbones. I don't know what their problem is, but they don't fight for us. They just don't.
No, they
Both
don't.
parties suck right
right.
now. That's just the reality. So if we're not going to change these things, what's the point of, in my opinion, go a little left, a little right? Women don't have rights anymore. Why are we doing this? It's time that we actually said, we're tired of this system. It's not working for the American people. And we shut it down. We stop working, we protest, and we demand change. And of course, their orange convicted felon needs to go along with J.D. Vance. This is ridiculous. The Congress is supposed to be the checks and balances on the executive branch. They are nowhere to be found. And if we don't step in, we're going to be a fascist country. And I will address one thing, because I know what everyone's going to say. I can't afford to do it. And I'm going to push back a little bit, and it's fair. But here's the thing. The fact that people can't afford to go on a strike is exactly why we need to, because too many people are living paycheck to paycheck. Think about this. Let's say you don't go on a strike because you can't afford to. What do you think is going to happen in 6 months if you don't do anything?
Right.
Do you think your job's going to be there? Do you think the US dollar is still going to have the same value? What's going to
Right.
happen when Moody's drops our rating again? And then Canada and Japan and China cash in our debt. You think it's bad now? You're going to look back and say, wow, I should have listened to that Paul guy done a general strike.
Yep. Yep.
No, it's a good point, because that's where I was at with it. Was
Yeah.
I scared? It's scary, because what if I lose my job? I've lost a job before. It's horrifying. But you're right.
Yes.
If we don't do something, nothing changes.
It's going to get
Mhm.
worse too. I mean,
And
inevitably.
yeah. So like, how long, or do you think, I guess because I'm sure people wonder this too, like, how long do you think it has to go before it's effective? Like, is there, or is it just depends on when they meet our demands? You know, it could go on. And
We've never done something nationally like this. In the 30s and 40s, we had a lot of steel strikes.
Mhm.
France may have, was it 1986, had a 3-week strike where 22% of their population went. A wildcat strike is a little different because the people go against the will of the unions, but they were being mistreated. Ukraine and the Baltic states went on strike when they wanted to break away from the Soviet Union. Athens, Greece, I think once or twice a year go on a national strike. They shut everything down, the airfare, the buses, the transportations, demanding change. If I'm not mistaken, Turkey still right now is doing national strikes. The problem with Americans, and I'm just gonna keep on 100, that we're lazy.
Yeah.
We don't want to be proactive until it affects us.
That's right. And we've been taught to be that way.
It's American exceptionalism. We think that our stuff don't stink.
That's right.
That's never going to happen here. That's not going to
That's right.
happen to me. I'm privileged. We're
Just the
America.
fact
We're the
that-
best in the whole universe.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
reality. We're not even, listen, this is going to break a lot of MAGA brains, because anytime you say anything about the flag of America, their brains shut down and they defend it. We're not even the greatest country in North America right now. That's just
No.
a fact.
That's right.
They don't have mass shootings in Canada. They
That's
have
right.
universal health care. Women
That's
have the
right.
right to do with their body. The president of Mexico is walking down the street, a woman president with no secret service or military guards.
Yep.
Can't do that here.
Yep. It's an illusion.
Can't even have a woman president here.
Yeah, and that's part of it. Is 249 years, 50% of our population are women. Why haven't we had a woman president? Because we're misogynistic. We're sexist. We just are. We have to just be honest about what we are. We're sexist and we're a racist country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation.
Increasingly so.
Yeah, I know, right? It's okay. We go off on tangents here all the time, so feel free to go off on any. We always, don't worry. I'm really good at looping us back in
It's good
to the main conversation, so go wherever you want, you know. But yeah, but like, so, you know, do you think that there's, so that's that magic number that we always talk about, that 3.5% of the population. And I've been reading a lot about that because that's what we needed for these protests. So how much do you know about that, like that whole study? Can you explain that if people don't know?
I actually have an email into, her name is Chenovich. I think she's from Harvard.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm hoping to hear back from her. I'm trying to interview her to see if I
That's
can talk to her about
great.
that. So I'm hoping in the next day or two. I need to read the study a little further. I know that's the magic number. Now, I think what has to happen is this. The biggest challenge with a movement like this is getting people involved. Historically, throughout the course of history, not just the US, but in the world, it's been the younger kids that have started it, the college students. And then the unions involved and people go in. That's getting the crack in the dam is the hardest part, is starting the movement. Now, I think that Indivisible has shown that a lot, and 505001 have shown that people are ready for a change. And there's another one called General Strike US that has about 300,000
that.
people.
I've signed that.
Yes. If they can all get together and we can do it, then that's good. With Indivisible, what I've heard is that they're looking forward to the midterms. Listen,
Yeah,
I'm going to just keep it
Indivisible.
100. I'm going to say what needs to be said. Anybody that's talking about the midterms is missing the mark, and they're doing this country a grave misjustice.
That's right.
Yep.
We're not going to make it to the end of the year, maybe even the end of the summer at this rate. We're not this is not sustainable. It is not.
That's right.
Now, I understand that telling people to not work, you could say, you know what, Paul, that's a privileged place. Maybe it is. But Martin Luther King said something that I've always admired. He said, a true leader is not a searcher of consensus, they are a molder of consensus. Too many people in our political system are searchers of consensus. They look for people with populist ideas that agree with them. They tap into their emotional side. Give me $5, give me $10, and then they don't do a damn thing for them.
Yep.
We need to have people in the room that says, this is what we have to do. It's going to suck,
Right.
but it has to be done. That's what we need, and we don't have that. And since our elected officials don't have that, it's going to have to be somebody like me or you or somebody in your audience, look at the history. Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, Colin Kaepernick, Martin Luther King, John Lewis. Lots of people throughout the course of history have been just one person until enough people followed them.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's a very good point. And I think we're getting there. Even if you just look at when you said Colin Kaepernick, I don't know if you know this, but like the one guy from Midas Touch is like his business partner. So that's where my brain went. But like things like Midas Touch or even this podcast that's very kind of low on that, but like Aaron Parnas, and no matter what you think of all of them, people are gravitating towards real, regular people that are just, you know, or like you, Paul, like you have a huge following that you're getting on TikTok, you know, because you're just Paul, right? And like you're just yourself and you just speak from the heart, and people want that now. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are sick of the system itself, and they're sick of the news and being told what to believe.
Yes.
Go on. I don't even really watch the news. I watch like one show. I think that Rachel Maddow to me is the gold standard.
I love her.
Rachel Maddow.
Ever since CNN did the town hall with Caitlin Collins and they had a Trump rally and called them undecided, I stopped watching. CNN is a joke. They are. They're not. It's propaganda. They keep wanting to go to the right. They have Scott Jennings, that white Christian nationalist, on there, and he just spews the white Christian nationalist BS. And they think somehow MAGA's going to watch them. They're not going to leave Fox News or their orange daddy. They're just not. And they're tired of it. And I may not have millions of followers, and I don't want to get as many views as some of the other people, but I'm like, but here's the reality. This is just me. A lot of the content creators are on there. They make videos because they want to make money.
Right.
Tap the screen. Give me diamonds. Next MAGA up. Next MAGA up. What the hell is it solving? What is your solution?
Nothing. That's right.
They're monetizing it. They're complaining about the capitalistic system. Eat the rich, right? Tax the rich. There's too much money. But don't forget to tap the screen. Give me diamonds. Give me a gift. Here's my PayPal. Here's my Venmo. What's the purpose of it?
Right.
Like anybody right now at this point, I had a quote from Martin Luther King. Like right now, if you're not in the game, you're part of the problem. Silence is complicity at this point. I really believe that.
It really stops more progressive conversation in the lives because they deflect. I mean, they use every single defense mechanism in the book to stop a conversation, and we pitch directly toward them in the live. And then every single potential for a political conversation goes out the window. It's horrible.
We have to, for me, I had one on today and I didn't realize he had voted for him and I disconnected him. Right, I'm just being honest. Right now, that party that, I don't know how the language is on this app, but he sexually abused Jane Carroll.
You can say anything, pretty much.
He's an adjudicated rapist. And for me as a man, if that's not a red line for you, then you and I are not the goddamn same. And too many people in this country, on this app, in the news, on media, normalize it. And it's gross. And I don't normalize it on my page. And I might not get as many followers as everyone else. I mean, I just started doing lives a month ago. I think I had like 250 people today. But you know what? I have conversations about race. How do we do the general strike? How do we fix the economic problems in the system? We have actual intellectual conversations. Those people that are trolls, I'll just go off on a little tangent. These MAGA men are insecure little children that never grew up.
That's right.
Their dads didn't love them. They peaked in 7th grade. They were cut from the kickball team. Maybe their mom breastfed them too long. There's a wide range of reasons but what we've done as a society is that we've done a really, really bad job of showing men that it's okay to fail. You see that in Little League Baseball, right? No, I want a winner. I want a winner. If you don't, you're a loser. You didn't finish first. The dad's yelling like for my kid, I asked his coach one thing this year. Was my kid the hardest working kid on your team? And he said, yes. And I said, I don't care if he plays, if he's starting, if he's the DH. I don't care. I care that he has a good work ethic. And he got cut like a year and a half ago because he had an injury and he wasn't ready. And I'm like, are you done? Is this the end of it? He's like, no. He worked twice as hard. He worked his way back up and he had the most improved player and he was the DH by the end of the year and one of the best pitchers on the team. Because I taught my son how to fail. And when you don't teach your kids how to fail, you get something like January 6th. What do you see? A bunch of angry, pissed off white guys that don't know how to handle their emotions, so they do what primarily they know. Physicality, violence, anger, veins are bulging, eyes are coming out, spit's coming out. Trap 2428, my orange daddy, he loves me, nobody else does. The guy that cheats on his wife really cares about me.
Right.
That's what you get. You get threats to judges, to attorneys, anonymous phone calls, going on. I mean, think about it. How sad do you have to be after work to make an anonymous name and go on a TikTok live and be a troll and go on hold for 10 minutes to say, the liberals. Do you know how pathetic you are? And the
Right.
sad part is, when I cut them off, there's still that lonely, sad little boy after the call.
Yep.
They have
That's
to go to
right.
another live and another live and another live because they're so empty on the inside.
That's right.
They need somebody to give them attention. They're like a little child, like, oh, can I have a toy? Can I have a toy? Like they have this emotional emptiness inside, and their orange daddy is kind of like their adopted dad. He makes them feel he says, it's okay to be this way. It's okay to blame the libs.
Yep.
It's okay to be a racist. Go ahead, little Billy. It's okay. Blame everybody else except for yourself. Don't take responsibility for anything. You're the victim, Bobby.
You know, if you think about it, like we were talking about with like the winning and losing, I always clocked that from the moment that he won the election, that they're really obsessed with the idea of winning, not
Yes.
what they won. Like
Yes.
there was like, well, we won. Okay, it's not a football game. It's the country.
But that's the problem with toxic masculinity is winning to them. Winning is the only measure of success.
Yeah.
Look at
Okay.
something like WD-40. They failed 39 times before the last time. But it's sad. It really is. As long as they win, they don't realize that America lost.
Right.
That's the part that's sad. They don't
Exactly.
care
That's a really
as
good
long as
point.
they win.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they can't look further than what's right in front of their face. That reward, that dopamine reward that's right there. We won. We
Yeah.
won. We won. We won. You know?
I guess that makes sense. I hadn't thought about it, but when you're talking about toxic masculinity, and that really is like that sports mindset and that winning at all costs mindset, because men are like programmed by our society, by their families to feel that way, and they're programmed to forego their emotions. And you know, so when you have a man like you that's open to that, it's always so like refreshing, but it's also like it makes you realize like it's kind of sad, you know, because a lot of these men are just unhappy, very unhappy,
and don't know how to be
That-
happy.
They don't. I mean, look at the Tesla protests. They're always pissed off and angry about something. Nothing is ever good enough. I mean, the way I look at it, they're like an alcoholic. It doesn't matter how much they drink, they're always thirsty for more because they're empty on the inside and they don't know how to feel happy. So it's like a bully. You have to bully somebody. It's just like the President Trump. He is devoid of compassion. I don't even think he loves himself.
No.
So when you feel empty on the inside, like a lot of the MAGA men do, because they're not alpha males, they're just little boys that want to be a real boy. They want to be a real man. Is they need this emptiness. They need to suck people in and hurt them and make them feel empty like them. That's the only way that they think that they're happy, and it's not even really happiness.
yeah.
But they think it is. That's the sad part.
Because they don't have anything to compare it to.
That's all they know is winning. That's
Yeah.
their only measure of success is
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not a real man.
Well, yeah, and then, you know, January 6th, like you said, is proof of that because, you know, they didn't win and they were furious about it and they were violent, even though they try to claim that BLM were these violent protests. That's not what happened. And they like to try to call them riots. That was an actual riot. You know, and then you look at, we had what, 12.3 million people protesting Trump. And the only violence that I saw was coming from MAGA, like one MAGA person that drove their truck into the parade, or not the parade, I'm sorry, into the protest. And a couple
Utah.
MAGA that shot people, you know, MAGA, they're the violent ones.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and men. Yeah. Usually.
Yeah, it's always men.
It's always men. And I think it's interesting, like when you think about misandry, like there really isn't room for more than one man anyway, because they're so vicious to each other that once they get up to that pinnacle point, like they'll knock the other one off. So there really isn't room for more than one. I mean, in that movie, The Holocaust, at the very end, there's that scene where they're standing at the end of the bed and one is fighting the other one. It's like, no, there's no room. You think that you're in this group until you're in this group, and then they're just going to pick you off one by one. That's how misandry works, right?
That's why they were angry even after he won. People are like, why are they still angry?
That's right.
Because it was the fight.
That's right.
They want the conflict. Winning was just part of it. It's like, well, now what do I do? I thought winning would be it. And they're like, oh, wow, I'm still pissed off and angry. I'm still mad about something. Let me blame the libs for something.
Exactly.
Let me blame trans people. Oh, let me pick Lincoln Riley, one white girl, because I can blame the brown people. out of 43,000 people that died that year, so I can be an open racist and be a toxic masculinity and be the victim.
That's right.
Or Ashley Babbitt, she stormed the Capitol, but she's the victim because she's white.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
It's the
the Lake
constant
and
victimizing.
Riley used to make me mad because, sorry, the Lake and Riley thing made me mad because her family asked them to stop using her name politically.
Yeah.
But you'll still hear them saying it. And we're like, no, this is not a political thing. Don't bring this into that. But they have to use those examples. But kind of looping us back. So we can get that percentage of the population. We've proven that, with the protests and everything.
Yeah.
We can do it. We have the majority. I don't think that MAGA is very loud, but they're very small. And we're just talking about this a bit on our last podcast, me and Jenny, that it's dying. It's a dying movement. And we're kind of hearing the death throes.
Yep.
Can I tell you what I think? Can I explain what I think MAGA is? Because
Yes.
what MAGA is let's go back to 1787 when the Constitution was written. It was designed by racist founding fathers that own black people, which is disgusting. They're not heroes. They're not deities. I don't worship them. I don't love them. They own black people. It's gross. Okay, let's just be real. They designed this country for 21-year-old land-owning white men. And they said black people were 3/5 of a person. Women couldn't vote. Women couldn't have credit. Women couldn't have no-fault divorce. Nobody was treated equal except for my demographic. And it took, till the 1960s for black people to even have the right to vote? Jim Crow lynchings? I mean, women, what is it, 1919? The women's suffrage movement? And
Yeah, I believe that was it.
No fault divorce until the 1980s. Asians were in internment camps in the 30s and 40s. I mean, this has never been a great country for everybody, and that breaks the brains of MAGAs.
That's right.
They worship the idea of American exceptionalism because they want to believe in the nuclear family, and they see their version of America, i.e., make Amerika white again, because that's what this is really about. That's the second part of this. The strike addresses the social economic inequalities, but the one good thing that came from Vice President losing, and trust me, there's not a lot of good that came out of her losing, as we can see, it's forcing us to address white supremacy.
Yes.
Because don't kid yourself. Donald Trump said, take off your white hoods and put on your red hats.
That's right.
Don't hide your racism. Just be an open racist. And when a black man sat behind the Resolute desk, instead of picking their cotton, a lot of white men got pissed off and angry, and they said, my America's going away. So they went back to what they know. They went back to the plantation owner. There was no way those MAGA men were ever going to vote for a black woman.
Yeah.
Ever.
No, you're 100% right. It's white men in general that are afraid of losing they see their power waning. They see women standing up. They see black people standing up. They see all these people standing up in groups, in droves, and they're going down at the bottom, and they don't know how to be at the bottom because they've always been at the top. And
they've been at the top because of how they look instead of picking their somebody. Now, let's also say this. We even saw black people over here because we were too damn lazy to do the work ourselves.
Yep.
We had immigrants build the Statue of Liberty. They brought over marble from Connecticut. Black people built the White House. They built cell phones. They have over 50,000 patents. Many of them they didn't get credit for because the white man's like, you know what? I know you did the work, but I'm just going to take credit because I'm white.
Yep. That happened all throughout history. History is so whitewashed. The history that I learned in school growing up was the most whitewashed version of when I became older and was able to do my own research, I realized how whitewashed it was, and it horrified me to think about that. It is just absolutely. We still do it.
And look, this country chose a president that's an adjudicated rapist, a convicted felon, tax fraud, has dinner with white nationalists, the guy that worships Hitler, disgusting, did it right to black people, cheats on all of his wives, 25 women have accused him of assault, 6 bankruptcies, we're about to be a 7th, questions the birth of Barack Obama, insults our soldiers, made fun of disabled people. But you know what? I just couldn't vote for Harris because I didn't like her laugh. I just didn't like her policies. Universal health care, giving small businesses help, helping people with student loans. I just can't do it. I just don't know enough about her. She didn't do anything as vice president. It's because he was white.
Yeah.
What's that quote is, this country will vote for the most unqualified, uneducated white man that's picking your pocket over the most qualified black man or something like that. That's what we're doing.
And they're punishing us for voting in Barack Obama.
Absolutely.
They have been mad about Barack since, he ran, and they have been furious, and they have been waiting to get back at the country for bringing a black man. And what happened to the country is the country was like healing. We were taking down statues of these like Columbus and all of these just white men that did terrible things. And we were acknowledging indigenous struggles, and we were talking about racism, but like in a comfortable way. People were able to like discuss these things with each other, and they were like, we don't like any of this. Like, they're trying to bring back all of these, like they're trying to re-erect these statues. They feel like it was this horrible thing that we erased history. No, we just unwhitewashed it.
Yeah, Donald Trump is the Klan leader. I mean, we
Yeah,
just have to be honest. And I think the media does a really piss poor job, and they're
absolutely.
failing the American people by not having that. I've seen one, God, I don't know if he was from Princeton or Harvard. It was a black man. He's like, I'm telling you guys, this is all about racism. You guys can sit
Yes.
here and debate it. And I forgot the gentleman's name. I've emailed him, but I haven't heard back. And he's like, you guys can sit up here and talk about whatever you want. Tariffs, taxes, none of that matters. You have to address what this is and call it what it is. Straight up racism.
Yep. And more white people need to
Absolutely.
do that, because we're hearing from our black friends, from our indigenous friends, from our Asian friends, but more white people need to stand up. A lot of white people don't want to talk about that because it's taboo, because they're scared, because maybe they themselves feel like they're going to be called racist, but it has to be spoken about. It
Well, here's
has
the
to
thing.
be.
I told you a story about somebody. I'm not going to, again, not mention the names, but this person was like, hey, I'm an ally. I'm an ally. Great. And then this person got a couple of really nasty messages. Okay. I get nasty messages all the time. But you know what? If you're going to be an ally, then be an ally. Don't jump off the ship when you start getting 40-foot swells. Otherwise, you're just a fair weather friend. Don't jump off the ship and say, I'm only an ally until I start to feel like a black person. And I start to feel like what it's like to be a black person, and then hide behind your white privilege. If you're going to go out there and say it, then be a person of your word. Say it full chested and put up with it. That's the only reason we're here, is because enough people that look like me haven't spoken out and said, no, I'm not going to do it. It doesn't affect me. Oh, somebody said something mean to me. Do you think people that are black don't get nasty messages every day? Nasty looks? Redline their houses? Get pulled over just for being black? Oh, I'm sorry. You got a couple of nasty messages. Oh, I'm sorry. Please let me clutch my pearls for you.
Right. No, I agree
God,
100%, because
seriously.
black people are being killed for
Yeah.
being black, and they can't hide their skin color. They
I said
can't,
this,
do
and I
that.
say the same thing about the blue bracelets. I think two parts. I think I understand, and I'm not poo-pooing it. So I just want to be very clear. I
You're
think
fine.
it's great that they want to be an ally, but this is just a straight up reality. If you go to a red state and you're very uncomfortable, you can choose to leave that blue bracelet in your room for a couple
Right.
hours while you go to dinner. You can't just
Yes.
take off your blackness and put it in the room and go out to dinner. It's an accessory,
Yeah,
right? It's
right.
not a feature.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember that with the whole movement with it, and a lot of black women, I remember specifically black women saying that they didn't like it because people could just cosplay it too. Like, so how do they know that you're safe just because you have a bracelet? Like, that doesn't, you got to show me. You got to show me you're safe. And,
It's,
we have to prove
yeah,
ourselves. We can't
it's
just
no,
put a bracelet on, take it off when we're,
no. And that's
yeah.
why that's part of the reason I make these videos. It's like, if you're going to be an ally, put your name on it. You don't, I mean, I have family that watches this that don't agree with me. And frankly, I don't care, because this is where we are. At this point, this isn't like, oh, we have a different point of view. No, we are a racist country. We have a convicted felon and adjudicated rapist in the White House right now, because people couldn't vote for a black woman.
The thing is,
Go
this
ahead, Denny.
isn't going to be comfortable moving forward. This isn't a comfortable process.
It
It's
shouldn't
not
be.
comfortable where we are now. It's not going to be comfortable when we do this general strike. It's not going to be comfortable when we figure out it might take more than a week. Like, none of this is going to be comfortable, but it is what change requires. And so I think, like, I think we need to start having conversations about, I've gone into some lives on TikTok and gotten kicked out of a lot of them just for mentioning the idea of a general strike. Like, you're not for the people, you're too radical, and gotten kicked out of a bunch of them. And I'm like, I'm not saying we need to do it tomorrow. I'm saying we need to start talking about this as a strategy, because we know that the demonstrations are working and that it's pushing back, and that Trump is feeling it and his administration is feeling it. And now we have to add an economic aspect to it. We have to. That's where our power is. So we have to
And
start
part,
conversations about it. We have to start making it comfortable to talk about it. And we have to start having a collective approach. Like, I'm going to do this, you do it, we're all going to support each other. And that's how you build a movement. And it's not going to be comfortable. And that's the truth.
it's No, it's not. And it should be comfortable. I mean,
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. And that in itself is
next,
white privilege, because we know that the biggest core value of white privilege is that you are entitled to comfort above everything else. And that is how they're rolling everyone into this idea of racism, is because white supremacy is about comfort. That is the highest value. And that's what a lot of progressive and liberal leaning, but not particularly economically focused people, or that progressive, I would say, are getting caught up on the rocks of, you know.
let me ask you both. How many content creators do you see that say what I'm saying right now on TikTok when you go to lives? How many people are having this conversation?
Nobody really.
Not a lot.
Nobody's
That's
having.
that's the problem, because they're
Yeah.
trying
Right.
to make money.
Right.
And that's the problem. We don't have enough people in the room that are serious about it. They
Yeah.
want to have, oh, this guy has 1 million viewers. He has 2 million viewers. Oh, look, we have 2,100 followers. Tap and like and Venmo me. That's the problem. We don't have enough adults in the room that want to have an adult conversation. That's why in my lives, I don't debate MAGA, because they're not going to be on the boat. They're not going to be
No.
part of it. They just want to be trolls.
Right.
It takes away from the messaging and the seriousness of it. They're
100%.
not worth it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sorry, my cat was agreeing with you. I don't know if you heard him. He's down here going, yeah. Okay.
I talk cat.
See? Everybody agrees. What the heck was I gonna go ahead, Jenny, or somebody, because I was gonna ask something, but he distracted.
Well, I'm just really curious about, like, I like to spend a lot of time envisioning how something might happen. Like, we're not there yet, but how could this happen? How could this get galvanized and become bigger? I always like to think about these questions and kind of cogitate. But that is, we're going to have to make it popular to talk about and break down any kind of idea that we're not allowed to talk about it, which is absurd. And then we're going to have to imagine doing it together and support each other in whatever we are doing around it. And I think the sick days is a really good idea, because that's like a little bit of a,
Test run.
ground. Yes, exactly. Like a 3-day thing.
Yeah, you reminded me. That's what I was thinking about. Was so I'm trying to get there's a girl that I was talking to about
Caressa?
that she.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, for the People's Sick Day.
The people
And
sick day, huh?
the one thing I wanted to ask was, because one thing that she brought up that I thought was interesting, and I'm curious if the general strike, if they're doing the same thing. So like, I think they have like people are signing up for the People's Sick Day, and then they're going to pull the trigger when they get that magic number. So they're like trying to figure out if they have enough people. And then once they get those people, they're going to pull it. Is the general strike doing something similar to that you're
When
aware
I
of?
talked to, I was in a group chat with them, and the person that was leading that, and when I initially talked to them, they didn't have a sign up. They wanted to be anonymous. I said, how do you reach out to people? Well, just follow us on TikTok and Facebook.
They have a website. I'm on it. I mean, like, I
When I
signed up.
when I initially spoke to them about a month ago, they didn't have any of that.
Well, I don't
So
know,
I'm
because
just saying,
if you go to General Strike, I think it's generalstrike.com, they have numbers, and they have numbers that are building. I
Well, maybe
signed up
that's
for it, but I
maybe
don't know.
that's the problem though. If Paul's hearing
That's-
something different,
General Strike
Yeah.
US is different from the People's Sick Day.
Yeah.
Totally
but yeah,
different.
we're talking about general strike.
Yeah, General Strike.
You mentioned the People's Sick Day.
Well,
We're
yeah,
talking about
sorry.
two things
So
at once, sorry.
I confused everyone. So what I meant was, let me backtrack. So People's Sick Day had that
Yes.
website that had like, once they get so many people, they'll pull the trigger. And I was wondering if the general strike
And
had
I'm
that.
saying
And I
they
think Paul
do.
was saying,
I'm
and you're
saying
saying
they
they
do.
do. Paul's saying he heard they didn't. But go on.
I was in a
Go
group
on, Paul.
chat with the person that was hosting that. So I'm just saying, when I talked to them initially, they didn't have like a contact. They didn't want to put people's names out there. When you do a general strike, you have to be, and I'm not, like I said, I don't know what's happened since I talked to them last. You have to be organized. So I created a petition on change.org. It's 2025strike.com. I think I'm almost at 1,300 signatures right now, something like that. It has the list of the demands. You can sign up. You can make comments. You'll get notified when it's time to strike. And it has a place where you can contact me. You have to have an organized. Now, again, the next step is to get a congressman to endorse it. And I talked to Swalwell about a month and a half ago. And initially, he has looked at it. We talked about it a little bit. Either Wednesday or Thursday next week, I'm supposed to interview him about it. I was supposed to interview him last week, but 10 minutes before my radio show, Alex Padilla got handcuffed. So that got thrown out the window. So I was actually supposed to interview Congressman Jim McGovern from Massachusetts and Swalwell the same day. So they both went. Whoop. So I'm going to talk to Eric next week and then probably McGovern the week after.
Cool.
The only other person that's mentioned it is J.D. Pritzker, but it was in passing.
Well, I
So
like him though.
Him
Yeah.
a lot.
he is.
He's really
If
stood
that's
out
the case, you
recently.
have to get it on. You have to get out. You have to get on social media. You have to get it in front of the news.
Yeah.
Ideally, what I think is going to happen is you're going to have to pull together like the invisible, the indivisible, the 50-50-01s, and the general strike. And I've talked to two
Indivisible
of
is
them.
so resistant to it.
They are. I
They
don't
are
know why.
I really struggle with them because they want to separate themselves from other groups. I went to a town
Yeah.
hall here around Columbus and they insisted. I was so disgusted. I was really mad, but they had like spokespeople who like got up and used AI to talk about the issues. I thought, you have to generate a certain feeling in the room. The way you do that is by allowing an organic process to take place, by people asking questions in the audience to the people on the stage and getting something that isn't a canned response. Like I was just disgusted by the way they handled
Here's
it.
the thing. Has Indivisible said this is our end game? What is the end result of these protests? Have they released
I
that?
don't know. Like I was literally going to sit down with one of the organizers. I friended her on Facebook and I was going to say, can I buy you a cup of coffee and talk to you about why are you doing it this way? Are you afraid of the ire of the public? Are you afraid of, not being able to contain the energy? You want that. I mean, you
Right.
want to not be able to contain the energy. You want people to be angry and frustrated and say that and then generate a useful conversation out of that. If it's canned, nobody's going to care. They're going to go home and say, oh, I went to my, my town hall thing. They're not going to be
Well,
affected.
because some people are doing it for optics and some people are doing it because they actually care. That kind of goes
Right.
back to what we were talking about with people on TikTok and stuff.
Right. For sure.
The reality is, and I know this is a lot of people don't want to hear this, the movement itself
We
is
do.
great because it's showing that people are angry. But here's the reality. Most of us, not all of us, most of us work Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever it is. We wake up on Saturday, we sleep in, we watch Saturday morning cartoons, we make our signs, we do the strike, we high five, we dance, we have a great time, we post on Facebook, and then we go home and watch Netflix. And then what?
Right.
And we do it in a month. And then what? And then a month later. And then what? There has to be an end to this. I'm just telling you, for Indivisible, if you're listening, waiting until the midterms, you're doing this country a massive disservice if you're not going to
100%.
take it to the next level, because our elected officials aren't doing what needs to be done. They are
That's
not
right.
doing their
They're
jobs
not
of
doing
leadership,
what they were
which means it's up to
put
us
in
to
office
do it.
to do. They're doing
Yeah,
the
you
bare
have to take it to
minimum,
the
less
next
than the
level.
bare minimum.
Well, no, they're doing a great job of organizing, but there has to be, you can't just tell people to protest, and then there's no results. Listen,
Yeah.
it's just our nature. We need to have an ROI for protesting. There has to be an investment, a return on our investment at the end of the protest. And I haven't heard from them what that is.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And then, well, and I wanted to, I was looking at the websites while you guys were talking. It looks like the general strike is becoming more organized, but I wanted to say that I agree with your point, because if right here in this conversation, Jenny thought one thing and you thought another, then that's a problem. Then that's a disorganization.
That's right.
Just like I was actually complaining about the No King's Day because they've given
Yeah.
2 dates in July. Which one is it? Like, you got to
both.
organize.
It's both.
It seems weird that it would be that close in July. Like, they're like, we're going
think
to
it's
big one July
weird.
4th,
I mean, I think it's a
a
good
big one
sign.
July 17th.
I think it's a good sign. I think that it means that they're building quicker, that they're expecting more people to show up for both events. But maybe I'm wrong.
And maybe,
I don't know.
I think, my concern is that we're hearing 2 events, but everyone's saying, no, it's this event. No, it's this event.
That's a problem.
That's my point. It's
Huge
not, I
problem.
don't have a problem with having more than one in the month. I have a problem with no one knowing what the answer is. Like,
Right.
so I get
Well,
that
so-
we don't have leaders in these because we are the
Yeah.
people are the leaders, but how do we, but go ahead, Paul, you were going to say something.
Let me read you what they said on Indivisible. We're inspired by the 3.5% principle. It only takes 3.5% of the population engaging in sustained strategic protest against authoritarianism to achieve significant political change. Everything we do from here on is grounded in 3 core commitments: staying in the fight, taking concrete actions today, and investing in the long term. What does that mean?
Exactly.
What does that?
It's a word salad. I mean,
Totally
I'm not
agree.
poo-pooing what they're saying. What the hell does that mean?
Well, they said concrete actions, but what concrete actions?
Yeah, right.
What, more protests?
Well, see,
Oh,
okay,
great.
so this is the thing. I think you're looking at a class issue here. I think this is economics. Most of the people who are in Indivisible are, you know, armchair liberals, basically. I mean, they're progressive, but they're pretty liberal. And so for them, a concrete action is to go to a protest once a month. They're not willing to take the risk of a general strike or a sick day because they're not thinking about it in terms of economic terms. They're not. I don't think.
Well, then I guess this is the question you have to ask. Everybody has to ask themselves: what are you going to be willing to do to stop fascism?
Well, right.
I guess that's it.
Exactly.
That's the question to everybody. If you don't want to go on a general strike, if your only thing you're willing to do is to go and protest when it's convenient for you outside of working hours, that's not going to change it. If that's all you're willing to do, then you're truly not ready to stop fascism. You're
That's
just not.
right. That's absolutely right. That's right.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you because I think a month ago, I may have been more resistant, right? But I've realized that you guys are right. Like, we have to do more. We have to get incredibly uncomfortable if we want to stop the momentum of this fascist regime. It's
And
the
if
only way.
somebody has a different solution, I'm open to it, but I don't
Yeah.
see another option.
No.
That's
I
the
just
thing.
don't.
Is we have to look at what we could lose. I think everybody is so stuck in this cognitive dissonance from the first administration. They're just focused on survival. They're not thinking collectively. Like, if we lose this,
Yeah.
if like they do
Yep.
this is the end of the, I mean, I don't mean to be, I'm not being hyperbolic, but this is
No,
the
it's
end of
gone.
the world we're talking about. I mean, this is, I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
what's going on in
And you know
Iran,
what's
and it's very dire, right? We have to look at
yeah.
the actual trajectory of this. And that's not being alarmist. That's being practical, right?
What you said is something I had to learn about a month or two ago when you said people are like protecting themselves.
Yes.
Because of how I grew up, I run at the bear. It's just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
And I had to realize I didn't understand why everybody else was like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. And they're like, you have to realize not everybody's like you. Like, some people have to protect their space. So what that means is that people like me that are wired this way, that want to go out, that want to go after the bear and fight this bully, because the reality is his only magic power is putting on orange makeup, lying, and changing his diapers.
That's right. That's right.
Everyone says, you know what? We're not going to listen to you, Orange Man.
That's
He
right.
has no power.
None.
The only
That's
power
right.
he has is
the
what
power
we give him.
That's right.
Stop giving him the power then.
That's
We're
right.
giving it to him. It's a choice.
Well, and then if you even look at like RFK, you know, you can look at it from the perspective of you're wired to go after the bear. That's
Yes.
why RFK hates autistic and ADHD people, because they're wired to go after the bear, you know?
Yeah.
Well, he wants
Justice seeking.
to pick on people that are innocent and weak.
Right.
Because
Yes.
this guy, listen, Wormbrain is so pathetic that his wife took his own life because he cheated on her. He's such a despicable piece of human garbage. Just like Donald Trump, just like Pete Hegseth, just like what's his name in Florida that was nominated for the attorney, Matt
Right.
Gaetz.
Right.
They
Gaetz,
all
yeah.
mistreat women because they all
Right.
are morally bankrupt. All of them.
Yeah.
But it's not
And
just
unhappy.
what?
Oh, I was saying, and they're unhappy. They're unhappy
Absolutely,
people.
100%. But it's not just that they are going after people who are weak. They're going after people who are playing the role of being weak because they're marginalized. But people
Yes.
who are neurodivergent are strong. They go after the bear. They go after the big thing. And they're terrified of that. And that's
Same
why
with
they
Black
hate
people.
them so much. And right, exactly. Black women too. Yes, absolutely. Marginalized
Yeah, especially
people
Black
are-
women.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and women, and you know, and all of these kind
And
of
queer
any kind of
people.
marginalized group.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
because marginalized groups have had so much turmoil. There's, you know, we're kind of like, we've already been there, you know, and bring it on, you know, like it's just,
Yeah,
or like with
exactly.
Paul,
It's
like
another day,
the way you
right?
grew up
Just another
is
day.
just, yeah. But that same thing, it's interesting because I am wired to go after the bear, but I have learned to hide from the bear. So I have conflicting ideologies in my head where I'm very much like you, Paul, but then other times I'm just like, leave me alone. I just want to be in my shell because like I just get overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
we have to figure out how to reach people who feel that way.
That's
Well,
right.
I think what has to happen is people that are leaders are going to have to just step out and lead. I think sometimes leaders
That's
aren't
right.
elected. They're not positioned. You just have to start leading and then people will follow. That's what has to happen during this
That's
time. And
right.
right now we don't have a lot of leaders. And I was going to say one thing. You said something about like the thing that really disgusts me about someone like a Jake Tapper, who at this point, I think he's a despicable human being. I really, he's going, this is what gets me. He's going after Joe Biden because he knows that Joe Biden is a decent person. I didn't agree with Joe Biden on everything.
No.
But you know what?
Mhm.
He's a decent human being. He has compassion. You don't see Jake Tapper going after Donald Trump the same way because
right.
he thinks that he's weak and he knows that he's not going to push back. So he's in many aspects, Jake Tapper is acting like a bully. He's a little punk.
Absolutely.
He is.
They
It's
see
gross.
kindness. They see kindness as weakness, and
That's
it's
right.
time that we show them that kindness is not weakness.
Kindness is the
In
strength.
fact,
It's leadership.
kindness. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Kindness is actually an extreme strength, but I think they see it that way, and they believe that kind people won't go after them. But that's the whole paradox of tolerance, where I don't have to be kind and love my oppressor. And in fact, if I am kind and I do love my oppressor, then I am not a good person. So,
That's right.
it's just about that kind of balance. But yeah, so I think, but I truly
That can
think
be
we need to
chills.
get,
That's
I think
good.
we need to get people, thank you, get people into this. And I think having this conversation is exactly what people need to hear, because it helped me. Honestly, Paul, just listening to you talk about it, because you do have the knowledge and the passion with it. So what's the website again that you said?
2025strike.com.
Okay, got it. Because I want to make sure I go there, Jenny goes there, anyone who's listening goes there.
See where we're at.
That's, yeah, super important to me.
We're at
So
12, about 1250 right now, 1250 signatures.
nice. Okay, well let's make it more. Yeah. So we definitely need to get that out there. I think, and I agree with what you said earlier, Jenny, about the People's Sick Day possibly being like a test run for the general strike. If I can get that person on, maybe we can talk about that. People can get, because I think some people can swallow 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Of like,
And they're more
I can
willing
call out
to.
for 3 days. And then if they see that something happens from that, even if they're just seeing that all these people participated, and then they get like the FOMO and are like, oh, I want to do that.
That's right.
Because I think that's what these protests did. I think a lot of people that didn't go, I had family issues and I have extreme FOMO from not being able to go to those protests over the weekend. I'm still thinking about it. But, so I think that could really get the momentum going. And I think we're almost there. I think people weren't ready a month ago, including myself. But I think people are done. Like, crazy shit is going to keep happening unless we stop it. I think everyone was waiting. I'll say one other thing. Everyone was waiting for our government to step in. When Kamala lost, they were waiting for Kamala to convict him. Then it was, well, this is going to happen. Then this isn't going to happen. We have to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
So
We're going to have to, the reality is we're going to have to save ourselves.
That's right.
Yes.
That's just, whether we like to hear it or not, whether it's fair or not, it doesn't matter at this point.
That's right.
It's going to have to be like a Catardine or a Nia from The Matrix, or V for V is from Vendetta. It's somebody, maybe it's me. I don't know. I don't know. I just know that right now this is the direction that it has to go, and that's how things change. One person steps up. If not me, then who? If not now,
That's
then when?
right. That's right.
Yeah, and I'm just a random dude on a podcast with you ladies, and you know what? So be it. If that's what it is, then it's my time to sit on the bus or take a knee or whatever it is. It's time.
I think it's all of our time. I think that we all are the leaders, in this. And so that's what I want to inspire people, is stop waiting for a leader. Like you said, Paul, be the leader, and we can all be the leaders in our own communities, in our own ways. I might have I don't know. Right now, I think we have 14 subscribers on the podcast. That's still 14 people that are listening to me yap for whatever the hell reason.
13.
Right. Well, yeah. So that's how it starts, and that's how you gain momentum. And I think people look at, in social media and stuff, there's these people with millions of followers. And so they think they have to have millions of followers to make it. You don't have to have millions of followers to make a difference. So start small and build up. And we got this. And all of my cats are now surrounding me. I think that, are you out of food? Are you trying to kill me? There was go ahead.
Let me say something really quick too to content creators. All of you guys with millions of followers, I understand that you have to make money. I get it. I get you want to make funny videos, do cat videos and dances. You want to argue with MAGA. If you're going to do that during this time while fascism is on the rise, we know he's a felon. We know he does a lot of bad stuff. We don't need to hear it every day. He is an idiot. He's a felon. He's going to do breaking news every day. So we can choose to do one thing. You can sit up there with your millions of followers and get thousands of views and make thousands of dollars, or you can be part of the solution. Because right now, like Martin Luther King says, silence is complicity.
That's right.
It's very simple. And I've reached out to a lot of creators and they said, yeah, I'll take a look at it. And then they're right back to making funny videos the very next day and talking to MAGA for 6 hours. Tap the screen, give me diamonds. Be part of the solution, but don't complain when fascism's gone, because what I don't want is in like 10 years, hey, Dad, what did you do? Well, I had 1 million followers and I was really focused on talking with MAGA to see how I can convince one person while 2,000 people, and I made like $1,200 on this one stream. It was great. Yeah, but Dad, what about fascism? Yeah, I probably should have done more, but I really needed the money. So it's a choice, people. Choose.
Yep.
Pick a lane.
Absolutely.
You're right. You're right. It's going to get uncomfortable, and we can't keep playing the same bullshit games. And also, to everyone that follows those creators, unfollow them. Stop giving them the millions of views, the likes. Stop sending them money, because that's not resolving anything. If you want to be entertained, go watch freaking Netflix. It's a production. It's much better. Like, come on. But if you want real world change, don't go on TikTok for that. Well, unless you're looking at like smaller creators like us that are doing things. Stop with these influencers and all this crap. Like, I thought we were done with all of that, but we always go back to that comfort of it, I think.
I'm just amazed that they're still doing that. Like, at this point in this movement, that they're
I'm not
still
really
on
amazed.
those lives platforming MAGA. It amazes
Because,
me.
yeah.
I'm just like,
Well, because
what
it was never about, right. Because it was never about making change. It was about, like Paul said, making money. Here's my Cash
grift.
App. Here's my Venmo. Tap the screen. Send me diamonds. Yeah.
It's a grift. That's what it is.
Yep.
Candace Owens is a grifter. She knows what she's doing. She's not stupid. She's grifting. She just is. Let's be real.
Yep.
It's all about
all
money.
those.
They're trading capitalism for fascism, and it's a choice they're making. And I think that's a shame.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so then we're about at an hour. I think so. So again, the website, give it one more time, Paul. The 2025.
2025strike.com. It's for the general strike. And next Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to be interviewing Congressman Eric Swalwell.
And what's the date on that? Because
I'm going to record it, so I'm going to post it on my YouTube probably either next Thursday or Friday, depending on when he does the interview.
And is your YouTube just Paul for Equality?
Yeah, I think I have. I just started it, so I only have like 17,000 followers, so it's still pretty new.
Oh, that's
Fantastic.
way more. I just started my YouTube and I have like 14 followers. So you're good, bro. You're good. You got this. So
I'm starting to take my content from TikTok and putting it on YouTube, because I don't know what's going to happen. So it's a brand new platform. I'm still using ChatGPT and Canva for graphics, and I'm still with the tags. I'm getting there. Let's put it that way. I'm a work in progress.
I think you're
That's
there.
fine.
As my wife says.
I think you're there. We all get there in our own time, though, and every person is a person. Anyway, any last like words, questions, anything for Paul?
No, I think this was a great discussion. I think we covered a lot of territory, and more than I thought we would. So I'm delighted to have you on, and I think it's a great conversation.
This is my first podcast I've ever done, actually. So this is
Woo!
my first podcast, and last week I hosted my first radio show. It's a lot of firsts the last 2 weeks.
You've been busy. You've been doing it all.
I've been, and I was in New York the week before on vacation, so I've been a little bit busy. Yeah, it's been fun.
That's good though. That's good, because you're doing a good thing. You're doing a good service, and we appreciate it. So,
you're
thank
clear
you
about what
thank
you're
you.
doing, which is really good. There's a lot of people.
Well, yeah, because that's what we talked about, right? A lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing.
Exactly.
But yeah, so thank you for joining, guys. Please comment, like, share this out. You'll be able to see this on Spotify, listen to this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Possibly see it. Sometimes I put the video up, depends on my mood. And you'll be able to watch it in its entirety on my YouTube channel, which is Tattoos, Cats, and Resistance. You can also find me at Tattoos, Cats, and Rage. Type one of those in, you'll find me. And TikTok, Tattoos, Cats, and Rage. I put up some clips. I have a Substack. I barely use it. Same with like Facebook and Instagram, but you can find me under the same names. And then we know Paul for Equality. Jenny, you've met her before, but I'll put hers up. She's Jenny, I always get it wrong. Just say it.
Inner Voice Intuitive.
I knew it. Okay, so Inner Voice Intuitive. And that's it. Thank you guys again very much. Have a good night.